Hey, what's up everybody? It's Onepeg here. So as I was ending the stream today, I came across a game trailer for this game called Hunger that looks like it's trying to enter the fray for the PvPvE extraction, like slasher, dungeon crawling genre, if you want to think about it that way. So I'll play the trailer for y'all, but it looks very macabre. It looks kind of spooky, I guess is the best way to put it. There's a guy that shows up in the trailer that's kind of got like this bug eye mask on. They don't really show much gameplay at all. There is a little bit for a few seconds toward the end. It kind of is reminiscent of Hunt Showdown, if I'm being honest. And I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to go for in terms of an aesthetic here, but as it's described, they say that this takes place during the Napoleonic era of Europe. They call this the world after the end. So we're in like this alternate timeline where a plague, referring to the plague's wrath, the monsters having the quote unquote the hunger, this plague has ripped across Europe that has kind of wrecked everybody and their life, and now you're kind of like this treasure hunter. Fortune awaits those that brave or are foolish enough to venture out from the safety of the chateau into the world after the end. So in the description on Steam, they talk about having rifles and pistols or the ability to lob explosive glass grenades with an experimental hand mortar. And then if none of that works, you have a melee weapon as backup. So it doesn't sound like slashing is really like the primary focus here. Again, kind of like how Hunt works. If you want to stay a little bit more quiet, you use the melee option. But they are looking at having special abilities depending on the class or character archetype that you choose. So it's got some amount of RPG element to it. They also did have some other screen caps on top of the trailer that kind of make it look very, like I said, Hunt Showdown-ish, with maybe a little bit more in the rolling hills side of things. But my question was, I had never heard of Good Fun Corporation or Good Fun Games before. Who the hell are they? And if you go to the website, it doesn't really show you much. It's a little bit off-putting, actually. It's weird and it doesn't navigate very well. And it's the mouse cursor on the website is a freaking $sign. I'm sure this is like a reference to something. I just don't know what. Maybe I'm just not in on the joke. But eventually, when navigating it, you can get to this game's webpage that only shows Hunger and has the face of something else kind of just sitting underneath it. Again, I'm not really sure what this is. Maybe there's somebody smarter than me that understands the reference. And that's really it. Like, there isn't any other reference to any of this. It doesn't show a website. There's nothing else listed. And on the website, there's no contact information. So I had to go digging a little bit. And it turns out that I found incorporating documents in the UK. So this is a UK-based company founded in July of 2013. So it's only just shy north of a year old. In the incorporating documents, it lists one major shareholder, Mr. Maximilian Gaetano Michael Ria, otherwise known as Max Ria. Max Ria is the former CEO of Black Matter, the creators of Hell Let Loose. Now, if you're relatively unfamiliar with the IP for Hell Let Loose, let me help you. Black Matter Studio sold Hell Let Loose back in January of 2022 for approximately $31 million, with an extra $15 million kicker for good performance, where the devs of Black Matter were supposed to stay on and help guide the IP further, with Team 17 being as the umbrella company and owner. Now, that purchase price went directly to Max Ria, the CEO of Black Matter, who I'm guessing had some type of contractual obligation to stick around for a little while. And then in February of 2023, Max announces that he is closing up Black Matter Studio and moving on, creating Good Fun Corporation. Somewhere around the point in time that the studio sold the IP off to Team 17, Max did an article with NME on NME.com, the author Jake Tucker, where Max was quoted as saying, "Our next game will be a fantasy game, so we can just make this stuff up," honestly, talking about how the Russian faction being added to this World War II sim had to be very, very historically accurate, and a lot of work went into that. And of course, he was saying it in a joking manner, but now here we are with Hunger, which is obviously much more fantasy angled and doesn't necessarily have to adhere to as much historical accuracy as a game like Hell Let Loose did. Now, of course, the opinions vary wildly across the board. There are people that look at someone like Max having started this studio as being a new, fresh, and interesting IP that people could then maybe sink their teeth into. There are other people that look at Max as kind of like this smooth-talking CEO that overpromised promised and under-delivered in terms of Hell Let Loose and its ongoing issues with its player base and how they feel the game should be played and how certain mechanics are capable of being circumvented and whatnot, and exploits still abound in a game like HLL. Now, whether or not any of that ties into this game Hunger as being any damn good, obviously time will tell. But they're going to have to do an awful lot of work to set themselves away from an IP that's as successful as Hunt Showdown has been over the years. Crytek made a banger of a game and continues to iterate on making that game even better every single time they have a new DLC come out. That game is pretty great. Now, granted, it has its issues with its own matchmaking systems and whatnot, but overall, that IP is kind of awesome. But I do think that it's kind of funny that when Max announced that they were going to create this new studio, almost to the day over on LinkedIn, you can see this spike in employee count where a whole bunch of devs from Black Matter basically just got rolled over into this studio. It's just kind of silly. Speaking of which, the studio boasts that it has 24, 25 employees at this point, so they are kind of moving ahead with this, although this is about the same number of employees that LinkedIn listed for Black Matter historically, when Black Matter was kind of at its peak count for employee retention. So I would expect that you'll see somewhat similar of a timeline, somewhat similar of a dev progress report. This game's supposed to be available to play in early access at some point in 2025. I don't know if they're necessarily going to make that, but, you know, we'll see. Not for nothing, for all of its flaws, Hell Let Loose is an absolutely beautiful game. So aesthetically, we should expect something visually appealing at the very least out of this studio. Now, mechanically, they've never ventured into anything like this before. The only project that Max has ever been a part of, in terms of his own reporting anyway, has been Hell Let Loose. That's it. So venturing into this macabre fantasy-esque feel that kind of looks like Elden Ring, but with guns, and really leans heavily into this Hunt Showdown idea, we'll have to see what they can come up with and whether or not it's going to be worth our time to play. But rest assured, I will absolutely keep my finger on the pulse of this one and try and keep you guys informed as to what's going on with it and whether or not I think it's even interesting anymore. At any rate, if you guys ended up enjoying the video, if you wouldn't mind subbing the channel here, that would be amazing. Otherwise, come and check me out over at twitch.tv/Onepeg, where I stream live every day around 5 to 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, I suppose I can just find you here. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you guys so much for lending me your eyeballs, everybody. We'll see you soon, okay? Peace.